Experts warn that the Trump administration's designation of emergency permits for infrastructure projects, including pipelines, poses a significant threat to the delicate ecosystems of U.S. wetlands and waterways. This controversial move, announced Wednesday, has sparked widespread outrage among environmental groups, who decry it as a blatant attempt to circumvent crucial environmental regulations designed to protect these vital natural resources. The uproar stems from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers' creation of a new category of emergency permits, ostensibly justified by a day-one executive order from President Trump declaring a national energy emergency and demanding the immediate acceleration of energy production. The executive order explicitly instructs agencies to utilize, to the fullest extent possible and consistent with applicable law, the Army Corps emergency permitting provisions to b. This directive has far-reaching implications, potentially streamlining the approval process for a staggering 688 pending permit applications. This includes over 100 applications for pipeline projects and gas-fired power plants projects inherently tied to the construction of infrastructure within navigable U.S. waters or wetlands, or those involving the discharge of pollutants into these sensitive environments. The expedited permitting process effectively bypasses rigorous environmental reviews and eliminates public comment periods, raising serious concerns about transparency and accountability. Environmental advocates argue this circumvention of established protocols represents a reckless disregard for environmental protection and the potential long-term consequences for ecological health. Matt Rhoda, Senior Policy Director for Healthy Gulf, a Louisiana-based environmental organization, vehemently criticized the administration's actions during a Wednesday press call, stating, "The Trump administration's push for an emergency review of wetland destruction permits is a blatant attempt to sidestep environmental laws and fast-track fossil fuel projects at the expense of our wetlands and our communities. This emergency proposal will increase climate change, destroy wetlands, and leave people even more vulnerable in its wake." Echoing these concerns, David Bookbinder, Law and Policy Director at the Environmental Integrity Project, a nonprofit dedicated to environmental protection, stated, "The Trump administration appears to be gearing up to use false claims of an energy emergency to fast-track and rubber-stamp federal approvals for projects across the country that will be destructive to America's wetlands, waterways, and communities." The Army Corps standard permitting process is specifically designed to assess and mitigate the potential risks infrastructure projects pose to wetlands. Accelerating this process, activists warn, could have catastrophic consequences for the climate and the environment. Fossil fuel extraction and utilization are primary drivers of global warming, and the very wetlands now threatened play a crucial role in absorbing greenhouse gases, mitigating the effects of climate change. Among the projects prioritized under this new emergency designation are several oil and gas pipelines slated for construction in the Louisiana and Texas wetlands. Also included is the controversial Enbridge Line 5 pipeline, which traverses Wisconsin and Michigan. Developers are seeking permission to construct a tunnel to bury the pipeline beneath two of the Great Lakes. Sean McBrearty, Michigan Director of Clean Water Action, expressed deep reservations about the Line 5 proposal during the Wednesday press call, stating, "If approved, this project will risk our fresh water and the millions of people who rely on it for drinking water, jobs, and tourism in exchange for a foreign oil company's profits." The administration's justification for this expedited permitting process, namely the declared energy emergency, is further undermined by the fact that not all projects included on the emergency list are directly related to energy production. One notable example is a proposed gold mine within an Idaho national forest, and another involves a Chevron-led plan to develop a housing subdivision on a former oil field. The inclusion of these projects highlights the potentially broad and indiscriminate application of the emergency designation, raising further concerns about the administration's motives and the long-term impacts on the environment. The lack of transparency and the circumvention of established environmental protection measures represent a significant setback for environmental conservation efforts and raise serious questions about the administration's commitment to protecting America's valuable natural resources. The long-term consequences of these actions could be devastating for both the environment and the communities that depend on these ecosystems for their livelihoods and well-being. The implications extend far beyond the immediate projects, potentially setting a dangerous precedent for future environmental regulations and the protection of vulnerable ecosystems across the nation. The expedited permitting process raises serious concerns about the potential for irreparable damage to the environment, particularly the vital wetlands and waterways that are integral to the ecological balance and the well-being of countless communities. The lack of robust environmental review and public consultation represents a major departure from established protocols and raises serious questions about the administration's commitment to environmental stewardship.